Good Sunday afternoon and or evening to all of you watching us here on Tennessee at the Voice of College Football Network. I am Tucker Harlan alongside Jordan Binkley. This is your Tennessee and Vanderbilt postgame show on the Voice of College Football Network. If you're new to the channel, please like, share, and subscribe. Click that notification bell on YouTube. Really helps us out. Really helps you get close to all the great Tennessee football content that you enjoy. If you're a Tennessee fan, we really appreciate you joining us on this Sunday. If you're a rival fan, we appreciate your support as well. We love everybody here, even if you're an Ohio State fan who's trying to clown in the comments as well. But man, we are not here on good terms today. We're not here on good terms today. We've got a lot of venting to do on this show. As you guys know, you don't need me to tell you, but Tennessee falling 45-24 at home yesterday to Vanderbilt to end the season and what has not been a phenomenal year. I'm just going to call that like it is. I don't think you would say this has been an awful season. It's not been a fun year for several different reasons that we're going to get into later. We'd be a little bit sour even if this was a close loss for Tennessee, if the Vols had lost admirably. Honestly, it would have been a 10-2 Vanderbilt team either way if that's the case. And, you can only be so mad if it was a close game. But we're not really mad. At least I'm not really mad about the fact that Tennessee lost. It's how they lost this game. Tennessee rolled over and died in the second half. I've not seen a Josh Heupel team do that in many games in his tenure at Tennessee, much less in the second half of a game that was tied going to halftime. That to me made no sense. Why did this team come out flat in the second half? And there is a number of statistics and other aspects of this game that we will get into later that just led to the downfall of Tennessee in this game. But yeah, once the double dip happened, there was just no recovery from Tennessee in this game.
Yeah, I mean, just an absolutely frustrating loss. I mean, like you said, a complete mess after the second half. I mean, Tennessee was playing competitively during the beginning of the game. I mean, trading blows back and forth with Vanderbilt. But man, I mean, regardless of the outcome of the game, I knew I was going to be mad anyway. Tennessee lost this game just because of how much was built up in the offseason, all the talking from Pavia, all of this, like being so confident in themselves before they even put on pads to start the season. And then guess what Vanderbilt does? They come out here and back it up, all that trash talking. And it is just so frustrating to know that this team has had to sit with these quotes and all of this controversy that's been coming out of Vanderbilt for so long. You would think it would motivate the team. You think they would come out here and have the best performance of their life. But I would say that Saturday's performance was far from that, and very disappointing to see Tennessee not being able to get the job done, because I don't think you have more ammunition in any other game like that. I mean, Tennessee had every reason in the world to win that game, and they just didn't do it.
Yeah. And this is not, for the record, I don't classify that as one of those games Tennessee had no business losing. It had no business getting blown out at home. Let's make that very clear. I can count on three fingers the amount of blowout losses Tennessee has suffered at home under Josh Heupel. Two of them were to Georgia, and the other one is to your biggest in-state rival. You cannot let a team come into your stadium and just bully you the way Vanderbilt did in this game. I mean, we've tried to play defense a little bit in some of these losses and on this show. Like the Georgia loss, yeah, you were close in this game against a team that you haven't beaten in the first 4 years of Josh Heupel. It's frustrating, but there are good things to come. You lose by 17 in Alabama. Lots went wrong in that game, just honestly, and it hurt at the time, but the small little bit of piece that you could take out of that game was it was at least in Tuscaloosa. You lose at home to Oklahoma, then it really starts to hurt a little bit. I mean, you didn't get blown out or anything, but you were losing to a team that was a tough matchup. Your offense felt really disrupted for maybe the one of only a couple times all season. This one, there's no playing defense from us. This is just flat out unacceptable. 315 rush yards in this game for Vanderbilt is about what they finished with. I think 314 was the number. Diego Pavia had the day of his life on the ground. Aside from the 2 interceptions, not a bad day from him at all. Yet another running back go for over 100 yards. I think he had 3 touchdowns on the ground. Just big play after big play kept coming in this game. And if you're going to get beat like that on the ground, it's pitiful. 582 was the official number for Vanderbilt in terms of the yardage department. We can no longer sit here and play defense for Tim Banks. It's over. You get beat like that on the ground by anybody. It's not something that we can sit here and act like we have an excuse for when he's been here for 5 years and it still hasn't been fixed.
No, and I this isn't the first time that Tim Banks has given up a performance like this to an opponent, because I don't know if this is the most. I think Diego's rushing yards is the most since Matt Corral did in Ole Miss, where he ran for 195 against Tennessee. I mean, there's something about these running quarterbacks, man, that just end up becoming an absolute problem when it comes to the matchup with Tennessee. But I mean, it's just embarrassing giving up 165 rushing yards to a guy that talked all the smack in the offseason. And now, I mean, I don't know how you feel, but I feel like he's definitely a Heisman finalist at this point, and it's based off of his performance at Tennessee. I mean, if they're bringing 4 people in there, I think he's one of the 4, as much as I hate to say it. But I mean, it's just sickening just seeing how Vanderbilt was able to just go out there and essentially just play backyard football the whole game. I mean, because there were several times where the plays would break apart and Pavia just be running back there back and forth like he's Patrick Mahomes throwing on the run, or if it's open, he's just running up the field for 20, 30 yards, whatever. I mean, just anything Vanderbilt wanted to do, they were able to achieve. And I mean, Tennessee won the turnover battle. They forced 2 turnovers in the game. And to Tennessee's credit, they capitalized on both of them. But man, they couldn't get that momentum swinging for the life of them. I mean, you would think some of this would fuel the players and try to run it up a little bit or try to get another touchdown there. But I mean, like, man, couldn't get the momentum going after the turnovers. I remember Mike Matthews had a big drop at one point that could have been a touchdown that led to a field goal. Yeah, so there's several frustrating things that happen in this game, and honestly, there's not too much to be positive about, in my opinion.
No, there's nothing to be positive about. There can't be at this point, because you look like you had it going on the ground with Deshaun Bishop early on in the game, but the same crap that happened in the Oklahoma game happened in this game, where you start running the ball on first down. And generally, I'm an advocate of that, but don't do it all the time and make it so obvious what you're doing to Vanderbilt. And, you know, he's getting stuff for 1-2 yards on first down. That's what Vanderbilt wants you to do. That's what they want you to do. And you get stuck in that, and you get stuck in obvious passing downs. The play to Brazel there, this is right before I left the game, because I left with about 6 minutes to go. I was not going to sit there and watch that, because it was 38-24, and then Cedric Alexander ran to the end zone. I was like, all right, we're done here. You throw to Brazel well short of the sticks on a 4th and forever. You can't be doing that in that part of the game. That is situational awareness again. The situational awareness did not show up as much in terms of the clock management, because Vandy was ball controlling a little bit to end the first half. They scored the touchdown. They get the double dip in the second half. They're trying to play that ball control style. That's what they want to do as a team. But I remember talking to somebody before the game at a tailgate, and he told me, he was like, I feel like we have to go out and outscore them. And, you know, the way this defense is, that's kind of how I felt all year about this team, just the way the defense is played. You're going to have to outscore people if you're going to try and win a game. But this team came out completely flat in the second half offensively. You get outscored 31-3 going back to the end of the second quarter, which is it's not going to win you a game. It's not going to win you a game if your offense is unable to produce in the second half. And sure enough, it wasn't, just because it became predictable again. And that's been the problem with it in some of these big SEC games, particularly at home in the second half, is you've become way too predictable offensively, and it's led to your downfall.
Yeah, I mean, I've stressed my hatred for the screen passing game like so much on this podcast, but I remember one play during the game where Vanderbilt clearly saw a screen was coming and they almost got a pick six. I don't remember if it was in the third or fourth quarter, but that defender was right there. And if he would have had both his hands on it, would have reacted a fraction of a second quicker, he would have had a touchdown right back to the house. I mean, it's just frustrating, like seeing these repetitive things go over and over again. Like you said, all the runs on first downs, just like such a predictable offense that Tennessee runs at times. And it's just frustrating to see, like, Tennessee will be leading in like points per game, yards per game, like the whole entire season. Then whenever it comes up against a big opponent, Tennessee just craps the bed and all of that goes out the window. And I'm curious to know even how good this Tennessee team was or how bad they were, because the scheduling was so weird. I mean, Tennessee played competitive games against Georgia, and like the final score wasn't too bad with Oklahoma. So you would think like, oh, maybe Tennessee was a good team this year, but all of Tennessee's wins are against opponents that aren't even going to be going into a bowl game this year. So, I mean, what if Tennessee had to play better opponents on their SEC schedule? Are we talking about a 6-6 team, possibly maybe a team that could even miss a bowl game? I mean, honestly, I don't know. I mean, because this team's been so confusing. We know that they've been bad on defense, shown glimpses on offense, but have turnovers here and there. Like, I honestly don't know what Tennessee is as a team, and they've already played 12 games for the season.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Jordan. To be honest, I watched this team all year, and I really don't have a feel for how good it is, because we haven't seen it win against a big team or a team with a comparable record, which I guess the first time we'll be able to figure that out all season will be the bowl game. By the way, if you're watching this right now, comment in the comments what your feelings are toward the bowl game. Do you feel apathetic toward it? Are you wishing the season was already over at this point so you could move on and start portaling? Do you have any interest in going to the bowl game? Because that's something at this point in the year that I think people are beginning to lose interest in, is bowl games, especially if you've been to bowl games repeatedly. Like if you are a team that has not been to a bowl game in 3 or 4 years and you're just trying to get back to the postseason, then yes, I totally understand why you would get excited for a bowl game. You want to be there. But if you're a team like Tennessee, you were thinking about potentially getting into the CFP at one point this year, I don't really think the odds were that great to begin with, but then you have some disappointing losses, and then you have a nail in the coffin like you saw on Saturday. It just kills the interest, I think, among a fan base. So I don't know. I don't know how amped up Tennessee fans are going to be for that game. And again, going back to the original point, I don't know how good this team really is, because you didn't lose to anybody with less than 10 wins on your schedule. I guess that's a somewhat of a positive, but we're having to sit here and argue what is a better win between a 5-win Mississippi State team and a 5-win Kentucky team. Kentucky had the better record in conference than Mississippi State. Again, it's so silly, because you don't have a win over a significant team this year, and you're not going to have room to stack wins against cupcakes in this new look SEC next year with the conference scheduling expanding to 9 games. You're really going to have the 2 wins in your back pocket. It does sound like Jerry Mack is in the mix for that Memphis opening, with Silverfield jetting to Arkansas. So we'll see what happens there. They're going to have to find a new coach. And if Kennesaw State indeed loses Jerry Mack this year, Furman is your only other win in your back pocket that you can take for granted. Like, you're going to play Georgia Tech at the beginning of the season. I don't know if they'll still be good next year, but you're not going to have any wins against bowl eligible teams this year, which is kind of unfortunate looking back on it. Like, the most comparable season I can think of in recent memory for how 2025 has gone is probably 2015, where you're there with some good teams in the game. You're unable to pull it out. But unlike that, you've been blown out in a couple of games, like this game, and then I guess Alabama being the other one in this scenario. So, yeah, just a year where you were perfectly average. Like, here's what's crazy, Jordan. There are 6 teams in the SEC this year that won 10-plus games. There are also 6 teams in the SEC that did not make a bowl game. Tennessee is right in the middle of the pack with LSU, Mizzou, and Texas in that group that made a bowl game but did not win 10 games.
That's a crazy stat right there.
You are perfectly average in the SEC.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess Tennessee probably was an average team in retrospect. I mean, just seeing how the schedule ended up turning out. But I mean, it's crazy to think that a lot of people thought Tennessee was a playoff contender, me included, at one point, and just to see the crumble and fall of this team. And the disappointing fact about it is I feel like Tennessee had a lot of talent too. Like, I liked things from Deshaun Bishop this season, the trio of receivers, the first receiver unit to ever for the first trio of receivers that have over 700 yards receiving. I mean, there was times where Aguilar was playing well. I mean, the defense was bad, but the pass rush was good. Offensive line was good, which, by the way, the offensive line was trash in the Vanderbilt game. Terrible. 4 sacks, 10 tackles for a loss. Awful.
By far the worst they've been all year. And they've had some not great games against Oklahoma and Alabama.
Yeah, but Vanderbilt, man, giving up the worst offensive line performance of the year against Vanderbilt, a team that Tennessee, I mean, when we were breaking down this game and how we thought it was going to go, we didn't really think much about Tennessee's or Vanderbilt's defense. Like, I wasn't too concerned about them going into this game, but I mean, they controlled it. They played in the ways that Tennessee's defense should have. And they stopped Tennessee more often than not. And it's just sad considering that, like, Tennessee is considered offensive powerhouse each and every season. But like I mentioned, like, whenever the big lights shine, like, that's when everything crumbles. I mean, just like how it was with South Carolina, when everything was on the line, Tennessee just let everything crumble. I mean, there could be some conspiracies of that. It could not be, but I mean, it doesn't change the fact the way that game went. And I mean, all the times Tennessee played against Georgia and got their head stomped in, I mean, it's just frustrating. It's like, is Josh Heupel just running up the score on bad opponents and just inflating these numbers? Is Tennessee really as good of an offensive team as we thought? I don't know. I don't know.
Posey brings up a good point here. Wendell Moy did go down at one point in the game. Did not see him return. So that does make some sense, and they packed it in on that offensive line, or Vanderbilt's defensive line packed it in on Tennessee's offensive line. So that was an unfortunate blow, and a guy that you haven't been able to keep healthy for a lot of this part of the season. He was good to go in that Florida game, but looks like he was injured again. I don't know if it was re-injuring something or not, but that's a tough loss for the offensive line. But yeah, it just all in all, very disappointing day for this team, and it makes you do a lot of thinking about the future for this team and what could potentially happen this offseason if there are any big decisions that will be made. You have to think there will at this point. Do want to go back to this comment earlier on in the show. Is there any smoke behind the Josh Heupel to Penn State rumors? There was a small private plane that did fly from Knoxville to State College today. I don't know if they are actually trying to talk to him and offer him a job up there at Penn State. I consider that the last major domino at this point in college football coaching searches. I don't really think Michigan State and UCLA are playing in the same ballpark as some of these other programs, like the ones that have all made moves in the SEC already. And then Penn State, of course, being the big one out of conference. And honestly, the reason why Penn State fired James Franklin in the first place was because he would repeatedly win 8 to 10 wins or 8 to 10 games and not progress to that next level at Penn State, why would they want to hire a guy in Josh Heupel that has done the exact same thing at Tennessee? That's why it doesn't make any sense to me. I think they're better off hiring Brian Daboll at that point, just to be completely real. Now, the other changes this offseason that I think we could see, and they're much more realistic, would be on the defensive end. Again, Jordan, you and I are done playing defense for Tim Banks. It just can't be done anymore. You've gotten in some pretty solid talent at this point, especially now at linebacker, where you were hurting for depth for the first couple of seasons, but you've gotten that fixed. Secondary was what it was this year, and then the defensive line not quite as strong as it's been in years past. Also saying Inge might be the worst of them all. I think part of the problem is it's not so much Inge in this situation as it is the fact that this staff has that weird tendency to play the veterans over the more talented younger players. That's another thing that needs to stop with this staff. Like, you value guys that have some experience to an extent, but don't go throwing out guys that are former walk-ons and expect them to play over the high-end 4-star recruits that you're bringing in. That's not something I want to see. And yeah, the rotation never made sense there. Like, at this point, play Perlotti and Spillman more, and obviously get Carter in the mix as well. But, T-Lander, I appreciate the whole coach on the field thing, but at the same time, it's like, if you're not talented enough to run around with the very best in this league and make plays, like, again, there were a couple of instances yesterday where he was just slower than Christmas, and then don't even get me started on Ben Bolton. Why are you throwing him out there at this point? So it's just tiring at this point to see this tendency, some of the tendencies like this whole playing the vets over the younger players, and then the penalties. The penalties were, I think, 5 for 60 yards, which is more yardage at least than what Vanderbilt had. But there's some things that keep happening with this program, or year after year on the field, that I think people are starting to get tired of. And if you don't see some real palpable change soon, then the fans are going to give up.
No, and it's been extremely frustrating watching all these same things seemingly repeating over and over again. I'm gonna start off with defense and complain about them for a second, because it's strange, because you look at some of these players like individual stats, or you watch them like during the games. Like I've seen some good things from Ty Redmond throughout the season. Seen some good things from Colton Hood. Seen some good things from the defensive line. I mean, Perlotti started to step up the linebacker. You see the emergence of some of these players, yet the outcome at the game doesn't seem to match it up. It's like you see them make a couple good plays, and then bam, Tennessee gets burnt down the field right there. Like, there's so much inconsistency on the defense that I feel like it's got to be a play calling issue with Tim Banks. And going back to what you said about starting some of the older guys, that has frustrated me so much. I've mentioned a couple times on the podcast before that I felt like that's why Joe Milton got the start in 2023 over Nico. I think it was Josh Heupel just being a good guy. And I feel like I don't even think it's a conspiracy anymore. I think Josh Heupel's just too good of a guy to make some of these decisions. He won't fire his own staff. He keeps all these super seniors in and these walk-ons and plays them. But like, if you want to do something like that, then go be a youth counselor or something like that. Don't be a football coach. Like, we don't need Mr. Psychiatrist here trying to build all these people up. We need people that are going to win football games for the University of Tennessee. He may be in the wrong profession if he's just trying to be a good guy, because I think a lot of these coaches weren't the greatest of people, or at least not when they were coaching on the field. I don't think Nick Saban was that nice of a guy to his players, but maybe off the field he was. And I feel like Josh Heupel's got to find a balance with that. Like, stop playing these guys that are not talented enough to be on the field to begin with, because you keep doing this, it is going to cost you your job. And a lot of eyes and attention are on Josh Heupel now, and deservingly now, where some of the other stuff were smoke screens in the past, like the media trying to twist things. I think now people genuinely are frustrated with the way that he's been running the team. And if he keeps this up for 2 or 3 more seasons, I don't think he'll be the head coach at Tennessee.
Yeah, I'd 100% agree with that. And um, I think Josh Heupel is the anti-Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly is a horrible human being. We know this, going back to his days at Notre Dame, and then you saw it at LSU. And Josh Heupel, on the other hand, is way too kind to literally everyone he comes in contact with. But they both have one thing in common, and I hate using this S word on this show, but I'm going to use it. They are breeding soft culture. That's what it feels like at this point. Like, it's just the second half of that game, it felt like Tennessee was soft out there with Vanderbilt. There's no drive to go out there, fight for your guys. It just show up and fight in the second half as a team against a team that has been so hungry to beat you all season long and saying all these things about you. Like, it looks very soft. It is I think the big message here. And you have to change that going forward. You need to get more bad guys within the program, just to try and, motivate some people. You're not doing enough of that right now. And I know it's hard at this point to try and, come out and be angry at guys all the time, because then they'll just transfer on you. But you need someone that has some tough love. And I think Rodney Garner is probably the only guy that really has that right now. Maybe a little bit with William Edge. I don't get that feel from anybody else on the staff, though. And I feel like that has to change going forward. One thing that is appearing in the comments here, this is at least a rumor, that Rodney Garner and Coach Chop may be headed for Auburn, with Alex Golish being hired there today. The thing with Garner is there's something with relatives who are having some health problems that are down in Auburn, so you'd be closer to home. Also, it's his alma mater, so you can't really blame him for going back there, if he does go there. And I think at that point, you do probably have to gut it. Like, I know Inge is – like, I appreciate what Inge has done, recruiting linebackers, but it's hard to keep them all if you're not going to keep Banks. And then, I mean, Willie Martinez at this point, like, do you think he stays around? And Banks just signed an extension this past year, too, for like an additional $2 million. Now, it's cheaper than firing a head coach if you're going to fire him for poor performance this year. Although it does sound like James Franklin at least was sniffing around for a defensive coordinator to try and get Tim Banks up there. That would be the ultimate win-win situation for both Tennessee and Tim Banks, because then you were talking about a guy resetting his clock and Tennessee getting a new defensive coordinator, which I think would be nice in that scenario. Now, I do think if Tennessee was going to make a move at defensive line coach and replace Rodney Garner if he should leave, they would turn from within, because they have a guy in Marion Hobby who has coached defensive line in the NFL in the past. I mean, I don't know how good he was as a coach in the NFL, to be honest, but they have him within the program. Also a VFL as well, played here in the 1980s, late 1980s. So, if you're going to replace a guy like that, you might as well look from within there. But I do think you have to make some changes and reach out to some guys externally. If Banks does indeed get fired, or just leave, do you think about giving Justin Wilcox a call? Is that something you want to think about? All of this stuff is very, very important. And then the other thing, too, with coaching at this point that I think you have to address is game management, because Josh Heupel has not done a good job of it for much of his career at Tennessee. His play calling is not bad, but the game management is, it's taken a hit because he's not focused on it solely as a head coach, which he needs to be focused on it. So, if there is someone that can either help him out with that, or, you maybe hand the play calling duties to Joey Halsley and let him grow as a play caller, as an offensive coordinator. Maybe that's something you consider this offseason, because that's the one other area that I think this team really needs to improve upon. We know about the defensive staff by now, but I don't really have any disdain for any of the position coaches on the offensive side.
No, I mean, offensively, I think Tennessee is doing just fine with the coaches and the players that they have on staff. On defense, I think if Tennessee was to lose Rodney Gardner and Inge, I think that could be a huge problem in terms of keeping some of these recruits in the future, which would not be a good thing whatsoever, considering that I think Tennessee's stringing together a nice recruiting class for this upcoming season. But I think Rodney Gardner, I mean, he's done a phenomenal job at not just developing the players, but like also recruiting them as well. I mean, it would be a shame if Rodney Gardner lost. Honestly, I would be very nervous losing him. I mean, I'm sure Tennessee could get a decent guy to come and replace him, but I think he's a hard guy to replace. In terms of Tennessee's like situational stuff, I mean, for years, man, for years, I've been wanting to see just some more things implementing Tennessee's offense. Like, why does Tennessee always have to be in shotgun? Why do they always have to run on first down? Why do they got to over rely on screens and then try to catch you slipping with a deep ball? Which, by the way, in that Vanderbilt game, that 52-yard touchdown that Brazel scored, he only scored that because the corner wasn't paying attention, first and foremost. So you could honestly take a touchdown off that board, because I don't know if Tennessee would have scored in the red zone on that play. But I mean, like, I would love to see some more I formation, some more goal line packages, like just some more diversity in the play calling, and some more, and burn some clock. Don't be scared to. I mean, I know Tennessee isn't up tempo as much as they used to be, like the first 2 years that Heupel was at Tennessee, but man, just can you hold the ball for like 6 to 8 minutes on a possession and try to like end a game, instead of just trying to go like 3 and out, punt it back to them, let them score again. Then the same thing happens again, punt back to them again, and now they're back in the game. Like, when you're already dominating a team, start running the football, milk that clock out. Don't start trying to do all this cute stuff that's going to let a team get back into the game. That's just something that just frustrates me so much. It's like Tennessee doesn't have to just be a spread offense with 3 receivers out there on every single play. Like, we could put 2 or 3 tight ends on a play. And I know Tennessee does that from time to time, but it just seems so predictable in everything that they do. And it's just frustrating. Like, and especially on short yardage situations, like put goal line in. Like, I get sick, and it's not just Tennessee. I get sick and tired of seeing teams like in scoring position going in shotgun when they only have 1 yard to score. I mean, you wouldn't see the Eagles do that now, would you? And look at the success that they've had in the NFL. I mean, I think there's things that Josh Heupel can take from other coaches that could really help benefit the team. And going back to him being a disciplinary guy, maybe that's what he needs to do, is find like a coach on the coaching staff. Tim Bakes, if he leaves for Virginia Tech, I think that Josh Heupel should just go get a mean SOB for defense attacker, like that dude from Alabama, that strength and conditioning coach with that harsh voice. I know everyone's seen the clips. Yeah, that guy. Get someone like him. Like, heck, make him I don't know how good he is at calling defensive plays, but shoot, use him as a motivator. Let the position coaches make all the calls, and just get that guy to stand in there and do the punishments. Tennessee needs something out there, and they're just not doing enough at practice or with the game planning from an outsider's perspective.
Yeah, now that you said that, there was a quote about practices yesterday in the press conference that was pretty damning from Joey. They didn't feel like they had done enough in practice. That was his words in a press conference yesterday after the game. And then T-Lander also said something, we're going to attack it tomorrow. And it's like, yeah, too late to do that now that the regular season's over. And all these guys, some of these guys may not even be here. You know, this is where the silly stuff begins. With the transfer portal, we're already starting to see it today. It doesn't officially open until January, but guys announce their intent, and then in doing so, they leave the team. And you know, you're not going to be able to retain all of these guys. Like, there will be guys hitting the portal. Make no mistake about it. But I don't think they will be significant losses for Tennessee this year. But again, if what Joey Aguilar said is true about practices maybe not being as intense and having as much attention to detail as you need in those practices. That's pretty damning about this coaching staff and the state of where things are right now with Tennessee football. Because no, I don't want a situation where one of your star defensive linemen is falling on his helmet allegedly. We don't want that again. But there is a certain level of discipline that you need to maintain in practices, and it's clear Tennessee doesn't have that right now. Like, again, you mentioned it earlier, Jordan. All of these theories that we had about Tennessee 2-3 years ago, and maybe not being as intense a team as you would expect your normal SEC team to be, they're starting to look more and more true, and I don't like that.
No, it's frustrating. Like, you need disciplined players out there that are not committing penalties consistently throughout the game, not wrapping up on tackles. Like, it's just like, where's the fieriness to this team? It just seems like at times they just feel like they can win just based off of offensive talent alone, and that's just not enough to take you to the next level. Like, you need a defense that is somewhat competent enough to keep the team out of the end zone, so where they're not scoring every single drive. It's just so frustrating to see this stuff repeated over and over and over again. But I'm so glad that they're finally starting to bring light to the situation, because some of these things I've been complaining about for years, now the general audience is starting to get on board with that too. So I don't know what Tennessee's solution is exactly, but I think that they're going to need to do a lot of soul searching to get some things together. And honestly, like with the transfer portal, like you were mentioning, I'm not as confident that good players aren't going to leave. I mean, you got to think, like, some of these guys that are younger that haven't been seeing the field. I mean, like, what are they expected to do? Like, I wouldn't be surprised seeing some very talented players leave the group. Like, God forbid, like some of these younger, like freshmen, like Staley or someone, which I don't think Staley would leave, but like, what if like Redmond left? I mean, I know he's got burned at times, but he's only a freshman. I mean, I wouldn't be too surprised if someone like him ended up leaving, or Perlotti, or even like David Sanders or something like that. Like, I wouldn't be too shocked if some of those guys left, and that's a huge issue if you can't retain these talented players that have a bright future. And I don't know. Like, I'm just curious to see how recruiting goes moving forward, because I feel like after losing to Vanderbilt this past Saturday, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Vanderbilt starts stealing some of these Tennessee recruits, especially some of the in-state ones. I mean, especially if they have the head-to-head matchup, they have the confidence, they have that alpha dog mentality. You know, they're well disciplined. You know, they're not having too many mistakes. I mean, if I was a player coming out of high school, as much as I hate it, I mean, I've been a Tennessee fan my whole life, but if I was looking for a better solution for me right now, I'd maybe consider Vanderbilt over Tennessee based on what they've done this season. And it sounds crazy to say that, and I hate saying that, but that's honestly the way I feel. I feel like Clark Lee is actually out here punishing his players, actually getting things done, and he's doing a lot with very little talent in comparison to Tennessee's roster. I mean, Tennessee has significantly better players on paper than Vanderbilt does, but yet Vanderbilt, here they are knocking on the door to potentially go in the college football playoffs with nothing but 3 stars, essentially. That's a sign of a good coach.
Yeah, and one thing I do want to mention about this matchup, yes, Vanderbilt is 10-2, and I think Clark Lee has earned the extension that he's gotten. I don't know if the good times will last there in West End, just because we've seen this play out in history before. And a lot of the reason why Vanderbilt is where it is right now is because Clark Lee made a great business decision. And you have to give him credit for that. You know, if he doesn't reach out to all those dudes in Las Cruces to bring them over, you know, Vanderbilt probably isn't where it is right now as a football program, if we're being completely honest. But once that brain trust leaves, what happens to the Vanderbilt football program, and what happens to Clark Lee's stock as a, you know, SEC coach? I think a lot of that hinges on what will happen on signing day with Jared Curtis. Of course, Georgia and Vanderbilt are vying there. I know Georgia said, Jared Curtis's mom said on Twitter that Red and Black looks a lot better than black and gold, something to that effect. So maybe she's still trying to push for Georgia. He's making that official decision on signing day, though. So I think a lot of Vanderbilt's future success is going to hinge on that. So we don't know if the good times will last over there in West End. But one thing that I do want to bring up, just in relation to the end of the year, typical end of year stuff around the program, is what this team is going to look like next season. And we're entering portal season. We'll see what all exactly happens there. Who Tennessee loses specifically is what I'm looking at. I know what Tennessee needs to do in the transfer portal. And I think the obvious thing here for Tennessee is you're going to have to portal hard on the defensive line and in the secondary, because you look at the defensive line this year, particularly the interior, it's going to thin out big time. It was already pretty thin this year, but you're going to lose, 3 guys on that interior with Eason and Moy. I guess I was thinking about Dominic Bailey. He's technically a defensive end, but he's gone as well. Tyree West and Josh Josephs are out on the defensive line too. You have some good talent coming in, and you'll have some experience there, but David Hobbs is really far and away your best piece and most proven piece right there on the defensive line this year, or going into next season. So going to be crucial that you get more bodies there. You didn't do much to address it last year because you just got Josh Shell, who has not seen the field at all for Tennessee. Shout out Grand Valley State for that one. And then you look at the secondary, there's obviously the injuries there this season. I just get the sense that Jermon McCoy and Colton Hood will not be in Tennessee Orange next season, just because the draft stock is too high at this point for them. And you look around at the safeties, there's not much depth at free safety. Andre Turrentine's gone. You have a couple of younger guys at strong safety, and I guess Idris Farouk and Caleb Beasley, who you think could develop into something going forward. But you're going to have to portal there because you don't have much coming into this 2026 class that is super talented. I mean, you're going to have Jamian Theodore at corner, and 2 or 3 other guys at safety with Combe and I guess Luke Thompson and KJ McLean. So not a ton of talent coming in this year in the secondary via high school. So you're going to have to look in the portal there. You would think they'll be fine at linebacker. The 2 other ones that I'm trying to figure out right now, as far as guys whose eligibility are up, and I guess there's more than just 2, because a court case is a big part of what's a part of the unknowns right now for Tennessee next season with Joey Aguilar. We don't know if he'll be here again next year or not. Star Thomas is gone, obviously, and you're going to replace him with DeJuan Morris in that running back rotation. Thought he actually made a nice play yesterday, returning that ball in the second half. So maybe he's got a future as a return man on this team. You have to assume Brazel might be gone for the sake of draft stock as well. I mean, he finished with over 1,000 yards on the season this year. So you have to feel like he's going to get drafted at least as a day 2 guy, I would think. And then the other ones right now that I look at as potential declarations for the draft are Lance Hurd and Arion Carter. We don't know for sure if those guys are going to go, but I would not be surprised if they did.
I think going into the season, I thought Arion Carter was going to for sure be leaving for the NFL after the season, but I don't know, dealing with the injuries and everything, I don't know how high he would go in the NFL draft. Like right now, I think he might be at best a 4th round draft pick, just based on what he was able to put on this year. And I mean, it's unfortunate because he dealt with all the injuries. I still think he's a really talented player. I don't know if it would be smart for Arion Carter to go in the draft this year. So hopefully you can get him back. But yeah, Brazel, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it might hurt his draft stock if he has, especially if he ends up having a freshman quarterback that needs to learn a little bit more. Or I guess it wouldn't be. Well, yeah, George McIntyre would still technically be a freshman, I guess. Anyways, just a younger quarterback out there. It might hurt him a little bit, but I mean, we've seen pretty much every quarterback be successful under Heupel. So, but I know that there's chemistry between a quarterback and a receiver that he might not have with the newer guy. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be some guys gone this year that's going to be an issue. And like you were talking about the interior defensive line, I mean, I feel like Tennessee's got to target that like crazy because not
Yeah.
only are they losing all of those guys, I mean, how often were they even on the field this year to begin with? I mean, that was the unit that was getting hampered with injuries left and right. It seemed like every game, two or three defensive tackles would get hurt, and most of the time they would return into the game. But I feel like Tennessee's defensive line was playing at like 65% the entire season. I mean, so they're going to need to get some backups in there just to be healthy and to help them out too if all this continues, which I think it will be because I think that my theory is true with the practices. I feel like Tennessee's not hitting hard enough out there, not doing the grueling things that the players hate, but it makes you better as a team. So I'm concerned a little bit in some areas of Tennessee's depth, but I think that they're returning a lot of good talent to this the upcoming season, especially in the offensive side of the ball. I think the wide receiver unit's going to be pretty good even without Brazel. I mean, if Brazel's going to be there, that's great, but we also know how Josh Heupel is going to be too. If Brazel's there, then Tristan Keys probably ain't going to see the field that much at all, and then he would likely transfer out of Tennessee, which that's a nightmare scenario waiting to happen. So if it came down to Brazel and Keys, as much as I love Brazel and I think that he's been one of the better receivers I've seen at Tennessee in recent memory, I like the idea of Keys becoming a dominant player more than Brazel playing one more year. I think it'd be good to cut ties with Brazel if it came down to those two.
I think the other thing you have to think about with wide receivers is you have developed a pretty deep group there with some of these incoming classes. Like you look at the 25 class, you've got Travis Smith and Rodarius Jackson, who you believe can do big things for this team. And you assume Tristan Keys will slide right in there and do that as well. And there's a few more too. Zay Anderson coming in, you would think he could get involved. I just wonder at what point the receiver rotation really expands beyond past that 2 or 3 that Josh Heupel wants to play a game. I guess it's just 3 of them, but you like what you got coming back at tight end. I guess Kitzelman is a loss, but not that big of a loss if we're being honest. I think Ethan Davis has far more upside than he did, and then I think Brame and Van Dorselaer will be good for this group as well. And again, the quarterback situation is what is the thing we're going to keep coming back to in the offseason, just as long as the lawsuit is going on. Again, can you sell a quarterback on potentially being an insurance plan in case, say, Merklinger leaves and then you're stuck with Faison and then George McIntyre, and you want to have a 4th scholarship quarterback? That's the one area that I'm still trying to figure out at this point. Like if Joey ends up leaving and Merklinger stays, I don't feel like he stays at this point. It just doesn't seem likely anymore. You're going to have to sell that to somebody, or at least try to sell that to somebody. And then outside of that, I think the only things left are what's going to happen with the offensive line, and you would assume that just about everybody will come back. Just with Hurd's draft prospects, that's the only one you got to wonder about a little bit. But no, overall, I think you're going to be able to return most of the people up front.
Yeah, and then Osenda will be coming in too, and maybe he can play the role that Sanders did this season, like start to get some more reps down the line and get some more playing time and everything. But yeah, the quarterback situation is going to be an interesting one to monitor because I actually didn't really think about the backup situation because I think Merklinger is probably going to be gone, as you said. And then, I mean, we'll have to wait and see whatever happens with Aguilar. But I mean, yeah, that just leaves like 2 quarterbacks on the roster right there, which is a recipe for disaster. I think it would be cool if Tennessee in the transfer portal, they were able to get like maybe a guy from, I mean, there's not a guy coming to the top of my head right now, but like a guy that grew up as a Tennessee fan that would be more than happy just to play that backup role, like someone like a Navy Schuler, if there could be a guy like him to come in and just at least be a body there, just for absolute, in case absolute doomsday happens, because God forbid Tennessee has to go out there and start playing a wide receiver at quarterback, which would have been maybe not the worst thing in the world if Legend Bay stayed committed, but of course that's not the case.
Yeah, that's history now, isn't it?
I mean, that would have helped out, I think, tremendously with the wide receiver room and the quarterback room.
Yeah, yeah. One more thing, I guess, before we wrap up here. And I hate saying this because it feels like a little bit of an ultimatum. I know that word's been thrown around quite a bit with a certain situation in Oxford, Mississippi, but um, this athletics department is at a little bit of a tipping point. You are charging exorbitant amounts of money to fans, both with travel and admission prices to games. Admission prices in particular, but travel is an expense as well. You're gonna have to spend however many $100 a night on a hotel room if you're driving in from somewhere in West or Middle Tennessee. Um, Season ticket prices have gone up 14% in the last 2 years, and all you have to show for at this point is an 8-4 season with those price increases. And I wonder what will happen next season, just for that very reason. Because what stinks is, and this is not a Josh Heupel problem. I guess it kind of is, but the unfair expectations of championship football, every single season, were created by this price increase for revenue sharing, the talent fee, so to speak. And it's going to irritate some people. Like I wonder how much longer some of these loyal season ticket holders are going to hold on to them, just because it doesn't feel like something that is a draw anymore. Some of these football games, just because of how expensive it is to get in, and then going to Neyland Stadium this year. The Georgia game, I think, was good for the most part, for an environment, but I mean, looking around for some of these other games this year, like Arkansas, Oklahoma, other than the light shows for Oklahoma, and then Vanderbilt in particular, Neyland just hasn't been very loud this year. Wasn't very loud this year in many cases. I know we can blame some of that on that premium seating. That thing has been an eyesore for the 3 years it's existed, just because the fans do not show up and show out in that part of the stadium. But it doesn't feel like as dominant a home field advantage, especially not this year with the 1-3 record to show for, as it has in years past. And again, part of that could be related to the fact that you were fielding a subpar defense all season long. But I mean, if you don't change some things really fast, you're going to lose the fan base very quickly. And I'm not just talking about Josh Heupel here. I'm talking about Danny White too. Like, you cannot just keep increasing the prices, conveniently putting out notices after one or two things happen that are good for the athletics program, and expect the people to still be loyal to you. I mean, they have you. It's like, if you don't renew your season tickets this year and you don't pay this price, then you're just not going to come to games anymore, which is unfortunate that that's how that works. But that's where we are right now. Like, if you don't have some kind of incentive for your fans as you are charging them exorbitant amounts of money, whether that be some giveaways, like free jerseys of some kind to all these people who are paying their hard-earned cash to see what is an okay product on the field for the most part this year, you're going to lose a lot of people. You're going to lose a lot of people. And I think the faults are beginning to show up with Danny White, but he's got to improve the image of, well, his own image with the fan base. I think like he's done a nice job listening to the fans in some regards with, the Vols letters on the stadium. I do appreciate that touch, but sometimes it just feels like he's gone on autopilot with some things, and you're going to have to slow that down here soon because, again, you're going to lose people.
Yeah, I got a couple things to say about the ticket prices because that's something that really frustrates me. I mean, it's always been kind of expensive to go to Tennessee games. And because of that, I mean, I haven't been to as many as you would think. I try to go to at least 2 a year, and I only went to one this season, and it was with you, Tucker. And that was because you had a free ticket for me to go with you with. But it's like your option as a Tennessee fan is like, if you want to have somewhat of an affordable ticket, you go to a game against a bad opponent like UAB, for example, this year, or you go to an away game like I did in 2023, the Alabama game. The Alabama ticket that I paid for was, I don't remember how big the difference was, but I know that it was significantly cheaper than what I paid for the Tennessee Georgia game. And it's like, I mean, like it's like cheaper to go to these road games than it is to even go to the home stadium. And here's another thing too. I said I went to a game at Alabama, a team that's won like what, 6 national championships in like the past 15 years. And I was still able to afford a ticket at their stadium against arguably their biggest rival. But if I was to go see that same game in Neyland Stadium, there's no way I could afford it. I couldn't afford to go see Tennessee and Alabama play unless I'm sitting in the nosebleeds. And even then, you're going to be paying a couple $100 at the very least for that. So that's something that frustrates me. And to go back what you said about the home environment not being there, maybe that's it. Maybe that the only fans that can afford coming to these games are the people that aren't as rowdy, the people that aren't like going up and wild and getting drunk and going crazy and like getting as loud as possible. Maybe it's some of the, and nothing against them, because I think everyone deserves a chance to go to the game, but maybe the only people that can go are the ones that can afford it. And maybe they're like past their prime when it comes to getting up loud and getting rowdy for the games. I mean, I could be wrong. It's just a theory, but it's just frustrating to see these talent fees and stuff like that when Tennessee can't even go to an SEC championship. Like we're paying this premium money, like we're primetime Nick Saban, Alabama, yet they don't even charge that much. And just for what? For an 8-4 season and a loss to Vanderbilt? No. And I would love to go to more Tennessee games, but like me, I'm personally affected. I can't go to these games because of things like the talent fee. I'm working 3 jobs right now. I'm very thankful if I can go to at least a couple Tennessee games this year. And eventually I'd like to go see a big opponent, which every time I went is against Georgia, because those would be cheaper because Tennessee's going to lose to Georgia. It's just frustrating, man. It's just frustrating. Like, make the games more affordable if Tennessee ain't going to win. If you want to put price hikes if Tennessee's winning national championship, fine. Like, I'd be happy missing every single Tennessee game if it meant winning a national championship every single year, but we haven't seen that yet. And like what you said with Danny White and it's Danny White, like he's a problem too with this. And I'm like, how much more is he going to have to hang his hat on if Josh Heupel contends to win only 8 to 10 games a year? Rick Barnes, how many years does he have left as a head coach with his age at Tennessee? And then you lost Tony Vitello to MLB. So what do you hang your hat on at Danny White if Josh Heupel doesn't pan out? Which, by the way, was his own guy. And I've been happy with Josh Heupel for the most part, but I'm sure you felt the same way, Tucker. And I'm sure a lot of Tennessee fans, when I first heard that Tennessee was hiring Josh Heupel, I was like, of course, this UCF guy is going to go hire one of his own guys because he couldn't get an actual coach. He just took the easy route out and got his own guy. Now, like I said, Josh Heupel's done much better than I thought that he was going to be initially, but I mean, it's just something to consider.
Yeah. And again, it goes back to what you're saying about those theories that we were thinking about before, that that maybe, they have this tendency to go after their own guys and, maybe start the veterans over the, younger, more talented players. And we don't ever want to fire our friends. That needs to change if this team is going to really get on the right track. But no, it's another thing just to consider. And I know, Danny White has not hired all of these people from previous jobs that he was at. But I do wonder if there is any substance to that rumor that, maybe his only care with hiring some of these coaches or the coaches that he employs or that the university employs is that his hires do well. With Vitello is the one that I question that particularly, but I think these things are going to show themselves here soon. I guess I think the theories are going to be proven correct or incorrect here in the next few years. But I know we've gone on a lot of long tangents on this show, but that we've had to get some grievances off our chest because it's not good to lose by 3 touchdowns at home to anybody, let alone a team that you have been historically dominant against. And now they're trying to put a focus on football and they're beating you at it. So I think that's something that it is a cause of a lot of frustration. And it's another crossroads for this program. How many more crossroads are we going to be at before, you fire this guy? Because honestly, what happens next year if Alex Golesh brings Auburn in and whoops up on Josh Heupel? Do you seriously expect the fan base to still stand behind Josh Heupel if that happens? I don't think – I cannot imagine how bad the internet would look, Vol Twitter would look in particular if that were to happen. So, you've got to make some improvements and make some tough decisions this offseason. And you know what? If you make the tough decisions and they don't work out, we won't be as mad at you for it. You at least tried to do it. But no, this whole experiment, it's getting to the point where it's running out of time to try and prove itself.
And I'll say one thing to add on to what you were talking about, Alex Golesh. I saw that Tennessee's Twitter. I was trying to find it earlier and I couldn't find it again. But Tennessee, I think going in before the Vanderbilt game, they had 5,400 total yards on the season. And they showed the previous numbers like, 4 years in a row or whatever, or 5 years in a row of 5,000 plus yards. But if you look at the first 2 seasons, Josh Heupel's there when Alex Golesh was the offensive coordinator, that's when they had more yards than they have in any other year. I mean, they had the 6,800 in 2022. And before that, they had like 6,000 and change. And now Tennessee's been struggling to get 6,000. I mean, I know like total yards isn't something that people tend to put too many eyes on when it comes to stats. But I mean, I feel like it's a little eye-opening that Tennessee's numbers have dropped in the past couple of years. And what's the common denominator? Alex Golesh not being the offensive coordinator. Food for thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall your offense was good at times this year, but it did falter in big moments. And I think that is unfortunately a result of this coaching staff. I think the offense was let down a little bit this season. But honestly, Jordan, I'm starting to run out of steam here. I know we've ranted quite a bit on this show tonight, but we had to. We had to get some of this stuff off our chests. I mean, you're not in nearly as bad of a situation as some of these schools have been this year, but I mean, on the hot seat scale in the SEC, I think Josh Heupel's is probably the third warmest, only behind Stoops and Beamer at this point, just because he's been there for 5 years. And it doesn't feel like there have been substantial signs of progress since the 2022 season. I know they got to the college football playoff last year, but what we keep seeing happen with this team is it's just a half team every year. Like, is it crazy for me to say that 2023 was probably the most complete team that this coaching staff fielded in its 5 years? And here's what's bizarre about that team. That was a down year for this coaching staff overall. Like the offense at times was unproductive. The run game was good, but you look at the passing game, it did not look good. The defense was at least serviceable that season. I mean, you look at this season, 2021, 2022, fantastic offenses at times. dreadful on the defensive end for much of those seasons. And then you look at 2024, you have a pretty solid defense. You have a good running back on offense, but the rest of the offense doesn't look great. So it's just like every year you're looking at a half team. They have to find a way to get both sides doing enough and try and gel together a more complete team. But again, Jordan, I don't think it's crazy for me to say that the 2023 Tennessee football team, who we all did not have a super high opinion of, is the most complete team that Josh Heupel has put together in his time at Tennessee.
Yeah, no, and honestly, never even crossed my mind like that. So that's pretty good analysis that you had there. Because yeah, I mean, Tennessee had a much better defense last year, or at least didn't like give up as much. I mean, Dylan Sampson had a phenomenal rushing attack, which Tennessee has missed significantly this season. It seems like every year Tennessee, I don't know if this is the philosophy or for the staff or not, but it seems like they put all their chips into one aspect of the team, whether like Hendon Hooker, he can carry us to national championship, or Dylan Sampson, we can just feed him the ball all game and he'll rush us that way there. Joey Aguilar, like let's put the game in his hands. Like why can't it be a complete team? Why does it like why you get just hoping for like one player or one position group to do good, and then like how do you ever expect to win games if you're relying only on a couple of people each and every week? I'm not saying that's the case, but it's just tiring. I want to see a complete Tennessee team that's got a good offense and a good defense, not like a good offense, bad defense, good defense, bad offense. Like just put a complete team together, or at the very least, just be average enough and have a couple of star players help boost up the numbers. Like just do something new, please.
Yeah, I think something new is what we're all looking for next season, even though it does involve Josh Heupel and some of the player personnel. Because I do think that the player personnel has not always been a problem. I know that there are certain positions this year where you'd like to see more, and you're going to have to portal in some areas, as we mentioned earlier. But no, it's frustrating to see a half product on the field every single time that Tennessee takes the field under Josh Heupel. That is something that has to change as well. But we will monitor any big decisions in the coming days. I guess that's going to do it for us tonight. We've been going on for quite a while here, but we had a lot to get off our chest. We appreciate you guys sticking with us tonight and all season, by the way. I know it's technically not over yet with the bowl game. We'll talk more about that once we know the answer to that question, which will come about a week from today. That stuff is determined on the selection Sunday with the rest of the college football playoffs. So we'll know about that soon. Big week this week with recruiting. You got signing day on December 3rd. And then, of course, you got the portal madness going on for the next month and a half. This is silly season. It's going to get silly. We'll have plenty to talk about here on the show. We're certainly not going anywhere, even though Tennessee is done playing games aside from the bowl game this year. We'll be on again tomorrow night at 8 Eastern time to talk about it with you guys. Ryan Sylvia of Rocky Top Insider will be joining us tomorrow night for the first 30 minutes of the show, so we'll talk about him. Get, I guess, a second opinion of everything that happened this season, what needs to happen with this football program going forward to try and enhance it if Josh Heupel is to remain the coach of Tennessee. But again, we appreciate all of you guys for you guys sticking with us throughout the course of the season, even though it has been a very up and down season for Tennessee football.
Yeah, like thank you guys, everyone that did tune in, because I've said this before after big losses, but like, man, it's so therapeutic to get on here and talk with y'all. And this one of the few things I look forward to after a Tennessee loss. Like, yeah, it sucks during the time, but it is good to voice our frustrations, to let out a little steam, and to feel better. And I know a lot of you guys are feeling the same way. So hopefully we were able to help y'all in the same way that y'all have helped us. We appreciate all you viewers coming in each week. Even if it's a big win or a big loss, you guys are still here, and we appreciate it very much. So,
all right. Well, that'll do it for us tonight on the Tennessee and Vandy postgame show here on the Voice of College Football Network. Again, appreciate all of you. Please like, share, and subscribe to Tennessee at the Voice of College Football. We will be live in about 25 hours on the channel tomorrow. For Jordan Binkley, I am Tucker Harlan. We will talk to you then.